guys, welcome back to Sessions with System and Soul. I'm Mackenzie Decker. I'm here with Benj Miller, and today we have a free tool for you. The reason that we do this is so often, and I can't even tell you how often, probably at least 2-3 times a week, I've talked to someone, a business owner or a team member of a leadership team, and there's just things that no one ever teaches you how to do when it comes to running a business. And a lot of times when I have these conversations, people are like, man, this is so simple. I wish I had done this years and years ago. The thing is, though, you don't get that instruction day one when you start a business or you step into a role. So these tools are all about really equipping you with the things that are going to make your job easier, are going to give your team more of a pace, more of a cadence, more of a common language, and really align everyone around what our top priorities are, what our top behaviors and habits are. So today's tool is going to be all about setting objectives. And objectives are 90-day goals. We're going to get into it. We're going to break it down for you on how to set that, on what not to do, on how it looks when we work with clients. Before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor and producer, Fist Bumps. Fist Bumps helps us put this show on for you and bring it to you live every week. If you want help getting your message out and sharing the amazing tools that you have in your business, then they are a great partner for that. Hey, Benj.
Oh, hey.
I've been talking for almost 2 straight minutes.
You are ready to go.
I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about this. This is one of my favorite things that we do.
It is, and you're a master at it.
Well, tell me from your perspective, as you're walking into rooms all the time with different leadership teams and you're helping them understand this concept and execute it. Why do you think they don't do this in the first place? And what do you think some of the barriers are to getting this kind of system in place for how they run their goals and the things that they give their time to?
I think most organizations get into kind of the bad habit of just going heads down, and they always know the next thing to do. So what this is taking the time to think big picture, to make sure the next thing we do is the most important thing that we do to take us to where we want to go. So if we don't really know where we want to go, then we don't know the right next thing to do. The other thing that we talk about a lot is that we have to have the confidence as a leadership team that our team can execute on whatever we say these priorities are. And so this is one of the ways, one of the tools that we use to start to make that happen and build the confidence that we can transform this company into what we want it to be. So we have 4 tools for confident execution in our toolbox. Today, we're going over one of them. This one is really specifically around transforming the organization. So while we have our tools for performing in the organization, what do we need to do today to perform? What do we need to transform? Because hopefully we're not the same company a year from now, 10 years from now. And so let's be really intentional about what that looks like. So I think just getting in that mindset, and there's lots of ways to go about this. We call them quarterly objectives. Tim Dorr called them OKRs. People call them rocks, Rockefeller habits, the big things that we need to focus on as an organization to transform to who we want to be tomorrow.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed over the years in all the teams I've been on is, everyone is busy. I don't know if I've ever met someone working in a business who is like, I don't have enough to do. Everyone is busy, but very few people are effective with their time. And I think often, especially when you've got a large organization, multiple departments, high growth, there are lots of opportunities. Describes probably everyone listening to this. There's any number of things that are going to come up as, oh, we should do that. Oh, that's important. Oh, let's make sure we fit this in. So we've got to figure out what to do with all that. Because otherwise you end up kind of on the hamster wheel, exhausted, worn out, running in 50 directions, and probably not getting very far very fast. So
the other side of that can happen as well, where teams don't, if you're not a team with a lot of innovation, a lot of ideation, you're just going to stay heads down and be performing all the time and then realize one day that you're strategically behind.
Yeah. By the way, if you're listening to this and you can't stick around for the whole session today, we are going to give you a PDF guide that you can download that'll give you some questions and kind of outline for you how to do this with your own team. This work is you can do it on your own, and I highly recommend giving it a try. It can be hard to do it, facilitate these kind of conversations with a team, but I highly encourage, like, get started, and then, System and Soul is here for helping with these kind of things. We'll talk about another way that you can get some real feedback on objectives before we go today. So, Benj,
Mackenzie.
lay it out for us. What is an objective and what is it not? And how do we set good ones?
An objective is another word for our priorities for the quarter. But when we're saying priority, it's usually more of a project than a goal, if that makes sense. Because we're getting strategic about how we're going to go about hitting that goal. What is the effort that we're going to put in? What are the resources that we're going to put to it? What is not? We could talk a long time about that. Maybe we'll do that at the end. But it's not doing your day job, because that's performing, and then there's a lot of ways to go bad. But I think you're going to cover those as we go through how to build a good one.
Yeah. So Benj mentioned this, but John Doerr, he came up with this concept of objectives and key results. It's like, if you want a master class and learning how to make really, really detailed objectives, I highly recommend looking at his work. What we've done is take the basics of that concept and skimmed the stuff off the top, and we've made it really, really simple for a team to use some of the basics of that OKR method and really make sure that those 90-day objectives go from day 1 to day 90, and they're highly effective and detailed out. So there's a couple things that we want to keep in mind as we work on objectives. And again, like Benj said, we want to think about things that don't just help us perform as a business, but transform. The things that are going to take us, 10, 20, 30% of growth down the road. Whatever that is for your business, your objective should be tied to those longer term initiatives. You're like, we really want to we want to double the next 2 years. We want to increase our, we want to increase our customer base by 300%. Whatever those things are, we want our objectives to be tied to that big, big growth. So I'm gonna kind of like read these out for you. Benj, interrupt me if you have some color commentary to add. But these are things that we want to do as we build objectives and work on the business. First, we want to have a lot of focus with this. So less is more. If you have 10 things, you're probably going to get them 10% when you could have one thing and get it 100%, right? We would rather, instead of having a laundry list of things that we're aiming for, we want to be able to get to 80, 90, 100% on some of these things. And that often means that we pick up fewer things in order to get there. Next, I kind of mentioned this, but we want to have alignment. So alignment means we're creating a visible connection between the vision and strategy for the organization with these. So we should be able to see how these objectives tie to the bigger picture. The third thing, and this one's like really, really hard, I think, for teams. We drive into the ditch a little bit on this one. It's commitment. And commitment means that we say 90 days, oftentimes 90 days. It could be a little bit less, a little bit more, depending. But saying it's going to be 90 days, we're going to get it done. Here's the date. We're going to aim for this. So that's usually a struggle for some teams, is being able to define it well enough and really put a stake in the ground and take those active steps and make that active progress in that time. One way to kind of help with that commitment is the next thing here. It's called tracking. So tracking is setting milestones that help us see progress in a really tangible way. Helps us know if we're on track or off track, and really be able to like visualize and present what it is that we're doing that is helping us get where we want to go.
On commitment, there's a couple ways that I see this practically go off. And we think about commitment like, oh, we weren't committed. But part of commitment is understanding the commitment that we're making. So one of the ways that we see it go off the rails is unclear definitions of success. So when we get to the end of the quarter, we're back in the room and somebody goes, I'm not really sure what we meant by that. Or we kind of got it done as we said, but that's not really what we were trying to do. It's like it goes to the definition, but the commitment, it's like the devil's in the details. So if we don't get really clear on what we're trying to do and why, then that commitment can slip really, really quick. The other thing you hear is just like, I didn't prioritize it, which is a failure of leadership, or something came up in the market with a customer, an employee situation, and that took precedent. That one you got to watch carefully, because that can be it is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And can we do it anyway? Are we making an excuse? Or is that a very legitimate reason that this should have been sidelined? And when it comes to that, then the encouragement is just to have that conversation in the room when it happens, not at the end of the quarter when it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, part of this whole practice, after you do it, it'll make sense. But part of doing this practice is really, it's almost like it raises awareness around the things that we aren't great at doing. It often like challenges our commitment. If we struggle with commitment, it challenges our focus if we struggle with focus. And so there's a long time where it feels like, gosh, we really suck at this. Like I had a literally right before this, I had a call with one of our clients. They're one of our largest software clients, and I was getting some feedback from him, and he was just saying how, like, he said several times, like, well, we started this objectives process, and we were so bad at it. We were like unbelievably bad at it. And part of it is, it's like, you probably weren't that bad at it, but you became aware of how disorganized or unfocused, uncommitted, those that you are. So we hear that a lot. It feels that way over time, but you're learning a new skill, stretching a new muscle.
It's not abnormal for a client in the journey to get, somewhere between 3 and 15 months in and have like a come to Jesus meeting internally and go like, hey guys, like, do we realize that we're a 50% performing team? Like, this is not a high performing team. We got half of our objectives done for the quarter, our commitments. Is that the kind of team we want to be on? And is that the kind of person on that team that we want to be? And that's a shocking question. And they have to get there on their own. As the coach, I can ask that question, but it's not until they feel that pain deeply and desire change that change will actually happen. And so, but coming to that realization that like, hey, we got 3/4 of these done. Great. That's a 75%. Is that okay? Is that good for this room? Or do we want to be more? Because a high performing team, they're going to knock these out.
Yeah, absolutely. So to recap, focus, less is more. Oftentimes, the other thing we should say about focus, oftentimes when we say less is more, we're talking about like, we kind of weigh out the number of objectives a team should have based on the number of people on their leadership team. So like, if you have 4 people on your leadership team, probably not going to be well equipped to take on like 6 or 7 objectives. Like, really evaluate how much time and energy is there. That's a good measure as well. So we got focus, alignment to the overall strategy, commitment. So we're saying it's happening on this date, 90 days. We're going to end on this date. We're going to get it done. Tracking. So we want these things to be things that we can demonstrate that we're making progress. We don't want to start on day 1 and get to day 90 and then be like, wait, what were we talking about? Like, what did we agree to? Like, oh, actually, I didn't do any of that. So what that looks like oftentimes is we do this kind of like show and tell. So over a 90-day period, at the 30-day mark and the 60-day mark, we want to show up to our weekly team meeting and be like, hey guys, this is what I've done on my objective, whatever it may be. It's like, I want to show you the new rebrand, or I want to show you the new software application that we're building in the wireframe, or I want to show you my new outline for this new service line that we plan on launching at the end of the quarter. So those are all examples of like just bringing something to literally show the team. It's a bit of an accountability step, but also don't be freaked out by the accountability word. It's accountability, but it's also a way to create a moment of celebration and awareness. Like, how many times have we worked on something huge and nobody on the team really knows about it? And it also, so it's celebration, awareness. It's also like helps us bring up some roadblocks or questions of how other people's departments or other people's work is going to overlap us. It kind of helps us talk about it in a way that I think if it's out of sight, out of mind, we don't often think to discuss some of the things along the way. So that's tracking.
You just brought up 2 things that are probably whole other subjects for another episode. But why do we feel a gut reaction negatively to accountability? And then the real implications of cross-departmental needs when it comes to these objectives. Those are two really big topics. But we're not going to get sidetracked. Keep going.
There's three more things that we want to keep in mind when we're setting objectives. The next thing is stretching. So we want to remain realistic, but we want to be pushing ourselves like somewhere between 10 and 30% more. I really like that you said like high performing teams don't get 50% things done. Also, high performing teams don't sandbag goals. So we want to really think about how are we pushing ourselves to not just perform, but really transform and do everything that we possibly can in that time frame. The next one is massive. It's ownership. Ownership is really hard for. Let me just back up. Ownership is one person who's got their name on the objective, and they're going to carry it from day 1 to day 90. And it doesn't mean is that they're going to do all the work necessarily, but it does mean that they're responsible for reporting on it. They're responsible for really designing the details and the understanding of what exactly we're trying to accomplish, and then really making sure that work is getting done on that objective throughout the quarter. So having one owner makes it really, really clear, who is the decision maker, who's carrying the ball, who's asking the questions, all that good stuff. I do have an example. I was working with a team last week. We were setting some objectives, and they realized, and this is a bit of that cross-departmental thing that you brought up, they realized that, so their objective was to, really, they ended up, it's more than 90 days, a little bit, but they are going to be launching a new product inside of their organization. And so launching that new product was the objective. And they realized like there's one component that lies with one leader in that organization, and another component that lies with another one, and then somebody else on another team had like a small piece. So they really had to decide like who has the whole picture in mind and who can carry it. And then that leader would be, delegating the pieces and checking in with those other departmental leaders to make sure that it's getting done. But it was really important that they established that so that they knew who was going to be carrying the ball forward in that conversation.
I think the word owner works for the idea of who's carrying the responsibility. But practically, I like to think about like sometimes it's just who's going to project manage this.
Yeah.
When it's cross-departmental, when there's a lot of people and a lot of moving parts, somebody's got to project manage this 90-day objective. And that's really what we're looking for in that ownership.
Yeah. Last thing here is that an objective is not your job. It is not your roles and responsibilities. It is not getting tasks done that are part of, every year, every week, every month of your job.
It's not hitting your sales quota.
It's beyond normal roles and responsibilities in the organization. Because again, this is to help us transform the business. Anything to add on how we set great objectives before?
No, you did great. I mean, a lot of this comes from repetition. So it's going to feel a little awkward in the beginning. You're going to make a few mistakes, which is going to be better than what you were doing before. And then you're going to get better and better as a team. And part of it is that evaluation of how did we do? Did we pick the right things? Did we prioritize the right things? Did we define them well? And did we execute?
Well, why don't we go ahead and give them like here, if you want to know the how of setting a great objective, there's a couple of steps for not just naming, here are the 3 or 4 things we're going to run after in the next 90 days. There's a lot of detail to it that we want to add to really make sure that we understand what we're committing to and can make sure that it's clear when done is, done. You want to walk us through it, Coach?
No, you're on a roll. Go. I mean, you kind of named a lot of it, like in how we set it up. But who's going to own this thing? How do we name it? Which is a funny thing, but there's energy in words, and so we say, "Hey, we're going to implement a new CRM." Like, great, but nobody actually wants a new CRM. Like, we want to get smarter with our customer intelligence. Ooh, okay. I do want to be smarter with my customer intelligence. So now even the phrasing of things can bring energy to the objective. So if we can kind of reframe what we're trying to do in adding the why into it, like adding a CRM has no why, but increasing our customer intelligence has a why, right? That is the why. That's what we're trying to do. So then the key results. Well, we select a vendor, get the contract, get all of our data ported in, implement it. We're going to do a training. So we've got 5 bullet points. Those are our key results. It's also like the checklist that if we can check all of those, then it is how we define it. One of my pet peeves is like when people actually do their OKRs and do check all those check boxes, and then they downplay like, well, there's more work to do. Of course there's more work to do. Of course you want to integrate it with your, accounting software and get this running. But there's always more work to do. Give yourself credit because we did what we said we were going to do. And that's where we go into what does it look like in the milestones, 30-day, 60-day. That way we can have the show and tell, like Mackenzie said. So in that example I just rattled off, we might want to have a vendor selected and a contract in 30 days. That's something I can demonstrate that was done, and we can have a clarity and agreement that it's on track like we defined it. And then at the end, we like to ask the magic question, which is, are there any decisions that we can make right now that would greatly accelerate the success of this project? So do we already know what CRM we're going to pick? Do we already have the contract and we just need to sign it? Like, it cuts out some of the noise and just cuts it down to, this is what we need to decide. This is what we need to do. There's actually not often an answer to that question, but when there is, it can save weeks of work.
Yeah. And it just gives you the freedom to think, hey, we just created the world's most perfect plan. Is there something obvious to us that we could adjust?
Yep.
So my suggestion for anyone listening to this today is go try this out. You may already have a project you're working on. Go try to lay it out in this format. Who's the owner? How do you want to state that objective as a really clear like outcome and mission? What are the key results? What milestones are you going to be able to show and tell? And then what decisions could you maybe make that would speed it up? We have a workshop series coming up this fall. Whenever this gets to you, it may be December 1st and we're already started our workshop series. I don't know, but we're running a workshop series October through January. And what we just talked through today is going to be one of the workshops. So we're going to sit down with everybody on our virtual workshop call, and we're going to have you build an objective while you're there and get some feedback. So if this is something you're really interested in, but you want a little bit more hands-on guidance, we're going to totally have that for you. And we'll put a link in the show notes for you to hop on that workshop this fall. I want to thank our sponsor Fist Bumps again for bringing this show to you and for helping us articulate all that we do. Getfistbumps.com. Benj, as always, great to see you.
Hey, you as well. Next week, we'll do it again.
We'll see you next week.